Here's a quick budget lesson about childcare. Mom works as a home health aide, earning $10 per hour. She's lucky enough to work full-time, and after taxes, she brings home $1,499 per month. Her 2 children, a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, use care at a licensed childcare center. Now, her monthly take-home pay is $1,499. Subtract from that the cost of childcare, which in California averages $1,085 for 2 children. That leaves only $414. $414! This is the amount she will have left over to budget for rent, food, taxes, utilities, healthcare, clothes, everything. How is she going to do it? How would you do it?
So right now I pay about $300 a month, but if my child care subsidy was to go away, I would pay approximately $1,500 a month, which I cannot afford. I don't have family that I can take them to. I don't have friends. Everybody I know works just like I do, so if I don't have child care, I don't work.
For my daughter's after-school program, it's almost $400 a month for her to be there full-time. And for my son's child care provider, it's about $600 to $650. That is equivalent to my month's salary. And so without child care, I'm not able to work. It wouldn't make sense for me to go to work. And I am currently paying a portion of my child care now. So, and it's about around $100 to $150 a month for my portion, and that's reasonable for me. That's within my budget.
Subsidized childcare assists low-income families by covering all or part of their childcare costs. It provides a safe learning environment for children to grow and develop, and allows families to work or attend school to improve their work opportunities. Having safe, reliable childcare increases worker productivity and helps businesses by reducing absenteeism and decreasing turnover, which is costly. Without affordable childcare, many families cannot work and will be forced to go on welfare. And if proposed changes to childcare take effect, welfare may be a momentary option, available for as little as 24 months. Then what? Go on unemployment? Unemployment benefits are temporary and are based on previous earnings, which would be only $774 per month for a parent who was earning $10 per hour, roughly half of her income while she was working. This does not fully cover the cost of rent, utilities, and food. Subsidized childcare allows parents to go to school so that they can get a better paying job. Your earnings potential substantially increases with the more education you have. For example, having a 2-year associate's degree increases average monthly income by $1,600 per month. That's almost $20,000 per year.
So for the last 4 years, I've been attending Sacramento State, and in May, I will graduate. Without childcare, I wouldn't be able to do those things. I work full-time, and I go to school full-time, and I know that while I'm away, my kids are cared for, and it's really important to me. I believe that it's allowed them to understand that education is important, whether you go to college immediately after high school or later in your life, that there's always an opportunity to do it, and that it's a responsibility, and it's to allow me as a parent to do more for them later in their life. And though they may not understand that now, in a few years they'll understand that schooling is important, and it's, you know, allowed mom to be home with us more. And without having childcare, I wouldn't be able to do that.
We have discussed the economic impact on individual families, but what about the bigger picture? What about the impact on our community and the state? What happens when childcare is unavailable? Without subsidized childcare, many childcare providers will be forced to raise rates to the general public to make up the difference, or will go out of business, which means they will stop paying taxes and stop contributing to the community. This impacts all families in the community. The early childhood education industry in California employs over 150,000 workers and results in more than $500 million in state and local tax revenue. Studies show that every dollar spent on early childhood education yields $2 in economic output for California's economy. Our economy cannot recover unless childcare is part of the picture.
If we were not able to help families that had childcare subsidy, we would be forced to close. I have 16 employees that work for me that would no longer, be employed. We wouldn't be able to stay open. We just, in this area that we're in, there's so many families that are qualified for subsidized programs that it just wouldn't be possible for us to maintain our business. We wouldn't put that money back into the economy with our 16 people. Those people would then have to go on unemployment. The parents that are here, wouldn't have an alternative because this is one of the only child care centers in the area. Maybe they would have to quit their jobs, go back on assistance, possibly, on unemployment. I just think for us it would be devastating.
Without childcare, what happens to kids? Some families have other options, but most do not. This leads to latchkey kids and children watching younger children, an increase of unsupervised children on the streets, subject to bullying and violence, children going with their parents to work, sometimes in unsafe environments, or even children having to work alongside their parents to help support the family, children who are ill-prepared for school and an increase in dropout rates, and more children becoming part of the juvenile justice system, which costs California $50,000 per year for that child, rather than $10,000 for education and child care. Lack of affordable child care paints a pretty bleak picture.
I think for us, the greatest thing about working with preschoolers and infants is the early advance that you can give them on their education. Kids really need early preschool skills to be able to be successful in kindergarten, and we have had so much positive feedback from kindergarten teachers of students that maybe now are in 5th grade that started attending here when they were infants, and of how much more prepared those children were than children who didn't have an opportunity.
My older son did not receive any kind of preschooling or daycare between 0 and 3. It actually resulted in him being held back in kindergarten. He had speech problems and behavioral problems, whereas with my 4-year-old twins, they've been ready for kindergarten since last year. So it's been night and day in what the child care has provided for them.
Studies show that with high-quality childcare, children perform better in school and are less likely to be arrested or incarcerated and less likely to be on public assistance or to be pregnant as a teen. Children are more likely to graduate high school and more likely to continue on to college and become employed. The benefits of affordable childcare are clear, yet childcare subsidies have been cut every year for the last several years because we can't afford it. But if we value something enough, together we can find a way to make it work. Here's another quick budget lesson, this time about California's wealth. There are 98 billionaires living in California. Altogether, their net worth is over $320 billion. Now, the total cost to fund subsidized childcare in California is $2.4 billion. If California's billionaires each contributed 0.007% of their wealth, less than 1%, we could fully fund childcare. While this may not be the answer, it illustrates an important point. If we value something and approach a problem creatively, we can find a solution.
I would like policymakers to know that the children that we have in childcare now are our future. They're the ones who are going to be in our schools and in our government centers and even maybe running our state in years to come. And without childcare and giving them a proper foundation, we're not setting them up to be able to do these things.
I think the important thing for them to realize is that you're cutting childcare, but you better add me onto the welfare side because that's where I'm going to be, and you're going to end up paying more out than if you would have just funded my childcare.
I would like the policymakers to know that with childcare funding, it creates jobs. It enables businesses to reinvest money into the community. Our childcare center would not be around without it. And for us to be able to employ people who maybe once were on unemployment or receiving aid and to provide care for the children on subsidized care, it would be a huge impact for those families.
Subsidized quality childcare allows parents to become self-sufficient and sets a real positive example for children to follow. It keeps both childcare workers and working parents as a stable part of the tax-paying community, which has been so fragile in recent years. We must fund childcare. We can't afford not to.